In these uncertain economic times, you've got to do whatever you can to save money. One of our biggest expenses can be our cars, especially when unexpected repair bills hit. Not anymore. If you own a vehicle with less than 130,000 miles, is less than 12 years old, has a warranty about to expire, or even no warranty at all, you could stop paying for car repairs. Roadside assistance, towing, and rental coverage are all included. Don't wait for the next repair. Make one free call right now to see if you qualify. If your vehicle is less than 12 years old, has less than 130,000 miles, even if it's out of warranty, paying for car repairs can become a thing of the past. Call us right now and get your car protected before your next repair bill hits. Get protection and no more repair bills. Call 800-696-1030. Again, 800-696-1030. That's 800-696-1030. 800-696-1030.
Joe had huge problems with the IRS.
I knew it was coming. I hadn't filed taxes since 1990.
All the IRS letters coming in added up to a nightmare.
To get up to like $68,000. My heart started beating fast. It's like, there's no way, man. I mean, I ain't going to be able to do this.
Then they stopped his paycheck.
So that's when I started making phone calls and found U.S. Tax Shield.
U.S. Tax Shield went to work immediately.
They just took the bull by the horns. What blew my mind is he called the IRS right then and there.
So why is U.S. Tax Shield A+ rated with the Better Business Bureau? Joe knows.
They saved me a ridiculous amount of money.
If you owe more than $10,000 to the IRS or state, choose the company Joe chose, U.S. Tax Shield.
It was the best decision I made. U.S. Tax Shield is the way to go. Life is good. Thank you, Lord.
Call 800-471-3287.
U.S. Tax Shield. Boo-rah. Yes.
800-471-3287. 800-471-3287.
The Internet will never be the same. You're listening to K98Talk.com.
Whoa! Good God, y'all. What is it good for? Absolutely. Let's get started again.
From the East Coast to the West Coast and around the world on the Internet, we're coming to you live from the CCRS studios. WNJC 1360. This is the Conservative Commandos radio show with your host, Rick Trader. The Conservative Commandos radio show, where the newsmakers go to be heard.
Businessman there, drink my wine.
You can call the Conservative Commandos radio show at 856-227-1360. Your opinion counts at 856-227-1360.
This is Congressman Alan West, and you're listening to the Conservative Commando Radio Show.
You are listening to the Conservative Commandos Radio Show. It is Monday, the 3rd of August, in the year of our Lord 2015. I'm Kevin Wade, and as always, my wonderful co-host on Mondays is none other than the patriot of the Silver State of Nevada, Sharon Angle. Sharon, how are you today?
I'm great. Thanks, Kevin. It's good to be on with you again on this great Monday morning.
Well, I'll tell you, it's amazing
Monday,
how
actually, I should say it's Monday right at noon Pacific
well,
time.
it's Sunday someplace, but but here at WNJC at the flagship station, 1360 AM, it is Monday, and it's about 3 hours and 7 minutes after midday. And I know it's much earlier for you, so I will let you in on the news that you haven't yet heard, because it's going to unfold in the next few hours for you. There is, I was just pointing this out to our show's inspiration and producer, Rick Trader, who I'm honored to have joining me here in the studio. And I pointed out that there's a headline that's popped up on Drudge. West Virginia Democrat comes out against Planned Parenthood. I think we're finally winning this argument. People who have wanted to close their eyes, Sharon, now can't avoid the truth of what Planned Parenthood means, and it doesn't mean anything about parenthood.
Well, you're exactly right, Kevin, and we've known it for years. I know my son called me the other day, and he said, Mom, they're finally saying what you've been saying for almost 30 years. They're finally telling the truth about Planned Parenthood. And I said, yeah, it takes a long time, but the truth will out.
Yes, ma'am.
And
you
that's
are exactly
the
right.
exciting part is that if we tell the truth, continue to tell the truth actually will set us free, and we do win because of that truth. So it's a good day, I guess, for babies in America, because finally people are really looking at what's going on in this murderous industry.
Well, you framed that the right way. It is an industry. It is an industry, and for every young, confused mom who goes in there and comes out differently, there was a heart stopped in the process, and that is not something that ever leaves the participant. It truly does not. It leaves lasting scars and changes the psyche and the soul. And
we've seen people that have developed ministries around just the casualties of this industry. And as you point out, it's not just the babies. There are many, many women who have needed to have counseling, and it's just, as you said, more victims than anyone can guess. It is just hard. I think a very hard topic to even get into, just because of the casualties, the victims along the way.
Well, I'm about as conservative as Republicans get, and you won't find me quoting liberal Democrats very often. But there are times when something has in the past been said that is so profoundly true, it bears repeating. There was a famous Democrat political leader of decades ago. He was known as the Happy Warrior from the state of Minnesota, Hubert H. Humphrey. And he said, and I'm paraphrasing somewhat, I should have the exact quote in front of me, that you judge a society by how the strong treat the weak. And that's a very fair observation. And I will add, in my own words, who in society are the most without a voice, the weakest, if not the unborn children, and the very elderly asleep in their dreams in the final weeks of a long life well lived. And those two populations seem to be in the crosshairs of the radical liberals, who are shameless in their pursuit of terminating life yet to be born and ending too early lives long lived. As means of balancing the health care costs in this country, and shame on them. So I will thank Hubert H. Humphrey of Minnesota for pointing that out to me many years ago, and it's stayed with me all this time.
That's right, and as you said, the liberal left, some of them are finally starting to understand what the problem is. Too late, but too little, but hopefully not too late. We do have a guest on our program today, Hans von Spakovsky, who's going to be telling us about this Planned Parenthood debacle and how do we get it defunded? What can the government do about that? And how do we press our government officials to do the right thing? So we're going to be right in line with that discussion at 3:35.
And picking up on that theme, our next guest at 4:05 is Pastor E. Ray Moore. I've met him, and I believe, Sharon, you've met him as well. He's director of the Exodus Mandate Project. He's author of Let My Children Go, and today he's going to talk about his new movie, Escaping Common Core, Setting Our Children Free. So that's Pastor Ray Moore coming in just a little bit after 4 o'clock.
And our final guest today is J.D. Gordon. We always love to have J.D. Gordon on. He's a former defense spokesman for the Western Hemisphere in the Office of Secretary of Defense. And he served under both Donald Rumsfeld and Robert Gates. He's retired now, a naval officer retired, but he writes as a columnist for the Washington Times, Human Events, Capital Insiders, Fox News, and is often a Fox News contributor. And today he's going to be talking about Gitmo. All of those prisoners that we are setting free at Guantanamo Bay, where are they coming? J.D. says that they may be coming here. And we'll want to listen to what J.D. has to say, because it just seems unbelievable in light of what's been going on with the shootings and just the homegrown terrorists in this country, that we would be allowing people that we've captured for terrorism to be let go on the streets of America. So we'll want to listen to J.D. Gordon at 4:35.
Yeah, he's a great friend of the show and a recurring visitor and guest, always sharing some of his insight. And I'll tell you, it's just hard for a person who has both feet on the ground to try to somehow rationalize what President Barack Obama and his inside clique down there in Washington, how to rationalize their actions. And I think more and more people who used to be sympathetic to some positions on the left are finally getting to the point where you and I have been for many years, and they're shaking their heads and they're saying it just doesn't make any sense at all.
Well, it certainly doesn't make sense for the freest nation in the world. It just doesn't make sense for people who have been guarding and safeguarding the security of the world for decades to be now within our own borders, dealing with terrorism on so many different ways. It seems like it's not just the Islamic terrorists, but there are other things happening. You know, one of the things that pushed Donald Trump to the forefront was this illegal immigration problem that has caused terror on our streets from people who have slipped over the borders who shouldn't be here.
He seems to not be a flash in the pan. It seems that poll after poll after poll firmly anchors him in the number one slot. And there's some surprising tidbits that come out of some of these polls. There was a poll done in Arizona, I believe about 10 days ago, that showed among all the Republican candidates for president, Donald Trump, of all people, had the greatest support from people who identified themselves as quote-unquote Hispanic.
Isn't that amazing? You know, we need to pick this up after the break. We're coming to you live from Conservative Commando's Radio Network Studios, WNJC 1360, our flagship station in Philadelphia, and around the world on the Internet with CPRWorldwideMedia.com, LeadingEdgeRadioNetwork.com, TalkStreamLive.com, ThePunditPress.com, ShreeMedia.com, K98Talk.com, and AMFM247.com. Now you can listen to our show at any time on our website, ccrsnetwork.com and ccrshow.com. This is Sharon Engel and Kevin Wade coming to you right after this break to discuss the presidential election in 2016. And Kevin, I'm hoping that you will have a commentary for us also at the end of this break.
We will be right back.
I really don't care. That's my prerogative. They say I'm nasty, but I...
The Conservative Commandos radio show is expanding to become the Conservative Commandos radio network. We are establishing a front line of conservative radio broadcasters and ironclad patriots to declare war against the madness of liberalism and administration. Are you tired of the disregard for our Constitution? Do you still have faith in the American dream? Are you looking for sensible, smart radio? If so, listen to the Conservative Commandos radio network every weekday from 11 a.m. to 7 p.m. and Saturdays from 2 to 6 p.m. on WNJC Radio, 1360 on your AM dial, or around the world on the Internet at WNJCradio.com. Check out our website, ccrsnetwork.com, for rebroadcasts and network updates. We are the Conservative Commandos Radio Network, where now even more newsmakers go to be heard.
Hi, this is Bob Vide, owner of Bob's Little Sports Shop in Glassboro, New Jersey. I've had the opportunity to travel in many foreign countries, and I've seen what happens to people when they lose their freedom. I wrote this poem. Give us freedom was the cry as they marched throughout the night. At Concord Bridge in Trenton, for freedom they would fight. To build a nation that would last with peace and liberty, it is a job that's never done if we are to be free. They wrote a declaration to announce that we are free, then a constitution for all the world to see. But this is ink on paper. We must make it last. It must always be defended, and that is quite a task. Today, the battle rages for freedom in our land. To save our Constitution, we all must take a stand. We must stand up for freedom in our actions every day, and you can stand up with us. Join the NRA. This is Bob Biden of Bob's Little Sports Shop in Glasper, New Jersey. You may call us at area code 856-881-7575 or visit us online at bobslittle.sportshop.com.
From the East Coast to the West Coast and around the world on the Internet, we're coming to you live from the CCRS studios. WNJC 1360. This is the Conservative Commandos radio show with your host, Rick Trader. The Conservative Commandos radio show, where the newsmakers go to be heard. You can call the Conservative Commandos radio show at 856-227-1360. Your opinion counts at 856-227-1360.
This is Congressman Alan West, and you're listening to the Conservative Commando radio show.
And that was Alan West, but you're listening to the Conservative Commandos radio network. If you'd like to hear a rebroadcast of today's show, please check out our website, ccrsnetwork.com, ccrshow.com, or mornings at 9 a.m., not 8:58, not 8:59, 9 a.m. Eastern. Log on to leadingedgeradionetwork.com, and you can listen to the Conservative Commandos radio network at any time, any day, from any phone by calling 832-999-1199, Sharon.
And that's great, isn't it? And you're also on TV today, Kevin. Talk to us a little bit about how we got onto TV.
We're both on TV, Sharon, and I want to tell you that the title slide we're using, you have perfect hair, okay?
And perfect teeth, too. It's amazing what we can do with technology these days, Kevin. You know, you and I were talking about Donald Trump, the Donald, and his explosion into this race. And, of course, now he's in some polls 2-1 over the next challenger. So he's at 26%, and Jeb Bush, the next one, is at 12%. And it just seems to be a moving target. He has a 20-point lead over Governor Scott Walker, and he has an 8-point lead over Bush. And so it just seems like he is gaining more and more momentum as we go into this first debate on the 6th of August. What do you think, Kevin? Is anybody really watching the debate? Do they really care about the debate? Do they think it's kind of canned stuff and we should just really look at the records and vet these candidates? What do you think? I know we're going to have the presidential preference conference in August, this 28th, 29th, and 30th in Nashville. We're still inviting anyone who wants to come. We're going to have a straw poll, and also we're going to endorse from our membership of the National Federation of Republican Assemblies on the 29th after listening to these candidates talk about the issues. And we're wanting to be the first ones out to get a true American constitutional Reagan Republican in the forefront. But what do you think? Is this debate that important? Are these polls that important? What do you think?
The polls are not important yet, but the debate is, because you're going to see Mr. Trump on the same stage in the flesh with the best candidates that the Republican Party can offer. And if he holds his own, if he simply holds his own, I think he's off to fame and fortune politically. Should he stumble, should it turn into be a shouting match or a mudslinging contest, I think everything's up in the air at that point. But Donald Trump is not a political figure. He's a business figure. He's used to dealing with pressure, but he may not be used to having that camera on him every instant for 2 hours. So I'll be watching, and I think this will be the most widely watched early presidential debate event that we've ever seen. I expect 7 million people to watch.
Well, and I hope they're really paying attention to all the nuances, because, as you point out, not every one of these folks that we have running now, 17, at last count, are politicians. Not all of them have a record. Not all of them have political experience. Is that a good thing? Is that a bad thing? It's hard to tell at this point, but it's interesting to see that we've got Trump leading the pack, and then Bush a distant second, with Walker, and then Ted Cruz, then Mike Huckabee, then Ben Carson, then Chris Christie, Rand Paul, Marco Rubio, and Governor Kasich as the last of the 10. And then there are the ones that we'll get to debate, I guess, after them: Rick Perry, Carly Fiorina, Bobby Jindal, Rick Santorum, Lindsey Graham, George Pataki, and Jim Gilmore, both former governors. So, as you said, there's a wide range here, lots of governors, some senators, and a few no political experience, but great business experience. As you pointed out, Trump is business, but so is Carly Fiorina. It kind of surprises me that Carly Fiorina isn't in that top 10, just because she's the one that has gone toe-to-toe with Hillary Clinton and probably has the best way of disarming Hillary's want to be the first woman president.
I think Donald Trump's advantage is he can change the game. It's no longer let's comb our hair and get in front of our microphone and hope that CBS says something. He doesn't need to be interpreted through the mainstream media. He gives his own interpretation, and he has both the name recognition, celebrity, and deep pockets to make sure that people hear his message. If he continues to get a winning message out, I think he can run away with the thing. And I don't just mean the Republican thing. I think he can run away with the thing. But is he up to it? He's going to show us. I'd like to do my commentary, Sharon.
Great. Let's go.
And we may run late. I'm just telling Mateo. The Great Divider, President Obama, and his dangerous Iran nuclear deal has crashed into an American wall of public rejection. His 21st century plan, to echo Chamberlain's 20th century, quote-unquote, peace in our time agreement, was only a vague idea, a slogan a month ago. Today, the people of this country are learning the details of Obama's tragic deception. As the people come to understand this betrayal of decades of established policy about containing Iran, the public mood has darkened, and the national temperature is rising to a boiling point. As the people come to understand that prior to the release of this plan's details, more Americans opposed the deal than supported it, the polls then did not signal an overwhelming opposition. The percentage opposed was well below a majority of Americans. Many people had a wait-and-see attitude. As I'll call it, fetid facts of this shameless deal have been heard, the American people are not simply informed, now they are righteously alarmed. And what are these facts? Over $100 billion, that's billion dollars, an amount equal in size to the annual output of the entire Iranian economy, will be paid to Iran as part of this deal. The key terror leaders in Iran, those with American blood on their hands, those who paid a bounty for killing American soldiers, escaping international justice as part of this deal. 4 hostages, all American citizens, still held in brutal jails with no release to their families. Military bases to be exempt from inspection. Those bases where final assembly of nuclear weapons and their storage will take place. Iranian rockets purchased with the cash received from the initial transactions of $100 billion. Some of those rockets able to strike at our homeland. Significant amounts of highly enriched to remain in the hands of the mullahs. The best and most effective uranium centrifuges to continue to operate, producing bomb-quality enriched U-235. The most damning facts, Iran still does not renounce terror and still rouses its citizens with chants of death to America. Yes, now that the facts have emerged, the people here are roused themselves, roused with righteous indignation. A new Quinnipiac poll shows America's overwhelming rejection of this deal. Today, voters oppose Obama's Munich moment by a 57-28 margin. Support has withered, and those undecided earlier are now decidedly opposed. In my home state of Delaware, constituent phone calls to one Democrat U.S. Senator are running 10-1 against the deal. This reaction is not due to a clever marketing campaign, nor is it a result of the able and influential American Friends of Israel to shape public opinion. This reaction is a grassroots uprising against a president the people no longer trust, and against his twisted vision of a nuclear-equipped Iran, the number one state terror sponsor in the world. This reaction is because Obama's deal is a wrong that, once set in place, cannot be undone. The president's deluded views that weakness make peace, that betrayal of our international friends creates trusted alliances, that weak appeasement brings safety in our time, are just that, delusions. The American people are rising to say these delusions are dangerous to America, dangerous to the Mideast, and dangerous to the future of humanity. I'm Kevin Wade, and that's the way I see it, Sharon.
Great, Kevin. As usual, you hit it just where we needed to be, and on a subject that really is crucial that we look at. I'm interested in the debates to see how much the candidates will hone in on what truly is important, like what are we going to do with Iran.
Well, we will be talking about that next Monday, because they're going to have the debate on Thursday, and I know you and I will spend a lot of time then talking about it. We're coming to you live from the Conservative Commandos Radio News, WNJC 1360, our flagship station in Philadelphia, and around the world on the Internet with CPR Worldwide Media, Leading Edge Radio Network, TalkStream Live, The Pundit Press, SHR Media, K98 Talk, and AMFM247.com. You can listen to our show at any time on our website, ccrsnetwork.com and ccrshow.com. Stay with us. We'll be back in about 4 minutes and 35 seconds.
They say I'm crazy. I really don't care. That's my prerogative. They say I'm messy, but
This is Rick Trader, host of the Conservative Commandos radio show.
And I'm John Forsyth, owner of WNJC Radio. Fellow patriots, the Conservative Commandos radio show is for conservatives, about conservatives, and by conservatives.
We are patriots who want to take our country back from the likes of Barack Obama, Harry Reid, George Soros, and Nancy Pelosi.
But we can't keep up this fight without your critical support today. Can you help? Please go to www.helpccrs.com right now and make a donation by credit card or PayPal. That's www.helpccrs.com.
Our goal is to expose the liberal agenda and distortions. We are fighting to spread the truth about political issues, political leaders, and conservative issues and values.
Our hosts are not paid. In fact, we buy our own airtime, studio time, and pay our own expenses.
We created the show because we are trying to make a difference. So can you help the CCRS expose the truth in 2014 and beyond? Go to www.helpccrs.com.
Help keep the Conservative Commandos radio show on the air by going to www.helpccrs.com and make a donation today to return our country to the conservative roots created by our founding fathers.
The leader in talk radio on the Internet, right here on K98Talk.com.
When our water heater broke down last month, it was a nightmare. It took 5 hours for the plumber to show up, and he charged us a couple of $100 just to come out. Then it cost another $1,800 to put in the new water heater. By the time it was all said and done, I felt like I'd been taken. But what else could I do?
The smartest thing you can do is get a home warranty from American Residential Warranty. Their home warranties pay to repair or replace all your major appliances when they break, and they will break, and at the worst possible time. Call American Residential Warranty right now for free information on home warranties starting at just pennies a day. Don't wait for your refrigerator to stop running or your ceiling fans to stop turning. Call American Residential Warranty right now. Ask how you can save up to 50% on washer and dryer coverage. Just call 1-800-513-6154. That's 1-800-513-6154. Again, 1-800-513-6154. Call now.
Tired of paying outrageous prices for Viagra? Well, we have great news for you. Now you can finally get Viagra at huge discounts. Healthy Man allows you to save up to $500 on Viagra. Why pay U.S. pharmacy prices of $15 per pill or more when you can get Viagra for less than $3 a pill? Call today and get 40 Viagra pills for only $99. This can cost as much as $600 at your local pharmacy. You can't afford not to call us. If you want Viagra at the lowest prices, never pay $15 a pill pharmacy prices again. Get Viagra for less than $3 a pill. Call 1-800-516-7602 today and save up to $500 and get 40 pills for just $99. Healthy Man is fast, easy, and affordable. Operators are waiting at 1-800-516-7602 to take your call right now. Call 1-800-516-7602. That's 1-800-516-7602. Again, 1-800-516-7602.
Need funding for your current business or startup? We have the investors, and our investors follow our business plan. Have you been looking for funding that banks won't offer? We can help. Using a little-known federal program, we can provide a legal platform connecting you with accredited investors' needs. According to Forbes magazine, this program has already funded in financing over $1.3 trillion. That's $1 trillion. Up to 100% financing. Interest rates and terms you set rather than a bank. No prepayment penalties, no tax returns, all credit considered. Please visit our website at www.fundingforsmallbusiness.info. Call us toll free, 844-409-1489. Once again, that's www.fundingforsmallbusiness.info. Phone 844-409-1489.
Hi, this is Bob Vide, owner of Bob's Little Sports Shop in Glassboro, New Jersey. I've had the opportunity to travel in many foreign countries, and I've seen what happens to people when they lose their freedom. I wrote this poem. Give us freedom was the cry as they marched throughout the night. At Concord Bridge in Trenton, for freedom they would fight. To build a nation that would last with peace and liberty, it is a job that's never done if we are to be free. They wrote a declaration to announce that we are free, then a constitution for all the world to see. But this is ink on paper. We must make it last. It must always be defended, and that is quite a task. Today the battle rages for freedom in our land. To save our constitution, we all must take a stand. We must stand up for freedom in our actions every day, and you can stand up with us. Join the NRA. This is Bob Biden of Bob's Little Sports Shop in Glassboro, New Jersey. You may call us at area code 856-881-7575 or visit us online at bobslittle.sportshop.com.
You can call the Conservative Commandos radio show at 856-227-1360. Your opinion counts at 856-227-1360.
This is Congressman Alan West, and you're listening to the Conservative Commando radio show.
Hey, thanks for being part of listening to the Conservative Commandos radio show. I'm Kevin Wade. As always, it's Monday, and with me is my great friend from the state of Nevada, Sharon Angle. Sharon.
Well, I'm here with you. I'm wondering if our next guest is here with us, Kevin.
I'm looking over my shoulder at the studio engineer who's so good he only needs one name. You know, you've heard like the musician Prince, you know, or the singer Cher. Well, NJC has a studio engineer, Mateo. It's just Mateo, and that's plenty. and he's giving me the thumbs up. So, Sharon, I think I'll lead this interview. Go ahead, my friend.
Yes, it is. I'm pleased to introduce Hans von Spakovsky, who's an authority on a wide range of issues, including civil rights, civil justice, the First Amendment, immigration, the rule of law, and government reform. And as a senior legal fellow at the Heritage Foundation's Edwin Meese III Center for Legal and Judicial Studies. His analysis and commentary have appeared on the Wall Street Journal, the Washington Times, Politico, Human Events, National Review, Online, and Town Hall. Along with John Fund, he's the co-author of Who's Counting? How Fraudsters and Bureaucrats Put Your Vote at Risk, and their latest book, Obama's Enforcer, Eric Holder's Justice Department. Hans, welcome back to Conservative Commando's radio show.
Well, Sharon, it's great to talk to you again. Kevin, hello.
We're so glad to have you on the show again, Hans. And we especially are interested in an article that you wrote for National Review. The DOJ needs to investigate Planned Parenthood. It's not just enough, in your opinion, that we defund them, and maybe we can, maybe we can't. It seems up in the air right at this point. But you want us to go a little further. Can you explain why that's necessary and how much further you want us to go?
Sure. Well, the analysis I did was on the several federal laws that apply to what Planned Parenthood was doing. I mean, first of all, while you can certainly donate an organ, and that happens all the time in this country, selling human organs is illegal and, in fact, a criminal act under federal law that can put you in jail. You cannot do that. Now, a facility or an organization like Planned Parenthood can get reimbursement for their costs of shipping organs and things like that, but if they're actually trying to sell them and make money off of them, that is illegal. And if you watch those undercover videos, it seems pretty clear that's what they're doing. The other thing that's illegal under federal law, if you're doing that, is you cannot alter the way you perform an abortion in order to be able to get certain organs. And again, if you watch the videos, that's what's happening. Also, there appears to be a discussion in one of the videos in which they're talking about how they get around the federal law banning partial birth abortion. So there's enough evidence, more than enough, in all of these videos to justify the Justice Department opening up a criminal investigation to see if all these different statutes have been violated.
Well, you make a great case for the broken law. Of course, we that consider this to be murder in the very first instance would want you to go one step further and try them on premeditated murder, I guess. But the interesting part of this to me is that they're attacking the messenger here. The guys that did the undercover videos are attacked for breaking a fairly superficial law, which may not even be a law, and yet no one seems to be focusing in on what you've just told us. These Planned Parenthood folks are not only greedy, but they have broken, it looks like, several laws.
Well, look, I agree with you, and don't let my logical analysis of the law let anyone look, I think what's going on is butchery. I think it is abhorrent. Frankly, look, my mother grew up in Nazi Germany, and I think Planned Parenthood is a direct descendant of Joseph Mengele, and I'm just appalled at what's happening. But from a legal standpoint, we need to understand that there's more than enough evidence to justify opening up a criminal investigation, and yet that has not happened. Contrast this with the fact that last week it was announced that the federal government had already opened up a criminal investigation of the killing of a lion in Africa. Almost immediately when that news came out, the feds announced that they were conducting a criminal investigation, and yet Loretta Lynch, the new Attorney General who took over from Eric Holder, has said, well, we're just kind of looking at this. We haven't decided anything. When there is video after video after video showing a possible violation of federal law. Look, the only reason that for that kind of a decision is political, not the kind of objective nonpartisan administration of justice that we need.
Oh, you're exactly right, Hans, and it is amazing that we could spend so much time on a lie-in when we have killed millions of babies, and it's just now coming to light just how criminal that murder has been all along over these last 30 years. I'm wondering if we're going to be able to get any kind of a criminal charge brought against them, or even if we're going to get them defunded. It looks like the political agenda is really barricading the way to justice in this case.
Yeah, look, I agree. I think, unfortunately, we can already see in the Senate where there's going to be a vote today on defunding Planned Parenthood. We can see Democrats, frankly, not denouncing this, standing up in support of Planned Parenthood. And I'll tell you something else hasn't gotten a lot of press at all. I mentioned it in my article, but I haven't seen anybody else talk about this, and that's the fact that one of the reasons we may not be getting a criminal investigation from Loretta Lynch is that she has a clear conflict of interest. And that conflict is that back in 2007, when the Partial Birth Abortion Act was up before the U.S. Supreme Court, Planned Parenthood had sued, saying it was unconstitutional. Guess who filed an amicus brief on the side of Planned Parenthood? Loretta Lynch. And it's very clear that she doesn't have the ability to make an unbiased decision about this. That's another reason why she really needs to recuse herself from this case, and yet that hasn't happened, and she has made not one mention of this conflict of interest that she has.
But you did, and we're so glad, Hans, that you're on it and that you have researched this, and that's why we love having you as a guest, Hans, is because we know we're going to get good research, we're going to get truth, and we're going to get to the bottom of a lot of the details that truly the mainstream media would rather that we didn't have. They would rather we talked about this more as a wedge issue rather than a judicial issue, and by that I mean we're going to see them try to play this high in the presidential debates, are you pro-choice or pro-life, when that is not what is at issue here at all. This is truly, as you point out, a very legal question that Americans have the right to have integrity within their Justice Department, and it seems like there's a severe lack of it, as you point out in your article.
Yeah, and Planned Parenthood and its the people it supplies, literally parts of babies to, what are they doing? Court to try to stop these videos from being publicized at the very same time that they're claiming, Planned Parenthood in particular, that they have adhered to the highest ethical and legal standards. Well, if that's the case, then why are they spending all this time, money, and resources on lawyers to prevent this from being publicized? If they really obeyed the law, if they were really ethical in what they were doing, then they should want these videos to come out so everyone can see that.
Well, you're exactly right. And if they were truly ethical, why have they broken laws, as you pointed out? Hans, we have to go to a break. It's just a short 2 minutes. Can you stay with us through the break? Because we'd like to continue this conversation.
Sure, happy to do it.
Thank you so much. We're coming to you live from the WNJC studios, our flagship in Philadelphia, and around the world on the internet with CPRWorldwideMedia.com, LeadingEdgeRadioNetwork.com, TalkStreamLive.com, ThePunditPress.com, ShreeMedia.com, K98Talk.com, and AMFM247.com. And now you can listen to our show at any time on our website, CCRSNetwork.com and ccrshow.com. We'll be right back after this message with Kevin Wade, Sharon Engel, and our guest, Hans von Spasskovsky, who is talking to us about how Planned Parenthood has broken the law and the Department of Justice under Loretta Lynch has
The Conservative Commandos radio show is expanding. to become the Conservative Commandos Radio Network. We are establishing a front line of conservative radio broadcasters and ironclad patriots to declare war against the madness of liberalism and the Obama administration. Are you tired of the disregard for our Constitution? Do you still have faith in the American dream? Are you looking for sensible, smart radio? If so, listen to the Conservative Commandos Radio Network every weekday from 11 a.m. to 7 p.m. and Saturdays from 2 to 6 p.m. on WNJC Radio, 1360 on your AM dial, or around the world on the internet at WNJCradio.com. Check out our website, ccrsnetwork.com, for rebroadcasts and network updates. We are the Conservative Commandos Radio Network, where now even more newsmakers go to be heard.
Hi, this is Bob Vide, owner of Bob's Little Sports Shop in Glasper, New Jersey. To travel in many foreign countries, and I've seen what happens to people when they lose their freedom. I wrote this poem. Give us freedom was the cry as they marched throughout the night. At Concord Bridge in Trenton, for freedom they would fight. To build a nation that would last with peace and liberty, it is a job that's never done if we are to be free. They wrote a declaration to announce that we are free, then a constitution for all the world to see. But this is ink on paper. We must make it last. It must always be defended, and that is quite a task. Today the battle rages for freedom in our land. To save our Constitution, we all must take a stand. We must stand up for freedom in our actions every day, and you can stand up with us. Join the NRA. This is Bob Viden of Bob's Little Sports Shop in Glasper, New Jersey. You may call us at area code 856-881-7575 or visit us online at bobslittle.sportshop.com.
From the East Coast to the West Coast and around the world on the internet, we're coming to you live from the CCRS studios. WNJC 1360. This is the Conservative Commandos Radio Show with your host, Rick Trader. The Conservative Commandos Radio Show, where the newsmakers go to be heard. You can call the Conservative Commandos Radio Show at 856-227-1360. Your opinion counts at 856-227-1360.
This is Congressman Alan West, and you're listening to the Conservative Commando Radio Show.
Hey, thanks for staying with us. You are listening, and some of you are, in fact, watching the Conservative Commandos Radio Network. We're now being broadcast on AUN-TV Broadcast Channel 3, San Francisco, Channel 12, San Rafael. And where's my favorite? Oh, here it is. Channel 11, K11VZ, that's in Chico, California. Sharon, great interview. Please pick it up if you would.
Thanks, Kevin. Thank you, Hans, for staying through the break with us. I'd like to get deeper into your article that appeared in the National Review and talk to you on specifics of the laws that they've been breaking and how they're breaking those laws. Sure.
Well, I'll tell you, for example, 42 U.S.C. 289 G2. That's the federal code section. It prohibits knowingly acquiring, receiving, or otherwise transferring any human fetal tissue for valuable consideration. That means you cannot sell baby parts, baby tissue, or anything like that of any human being. Now, last week, there was a hearing held, in addition to these undercover videos, there was a hearing held down in Texas at which a former Planned Parenthood clinic director testified. Planned Parenthood skipped it. And she said that they, on average, were getting $200 per baby organ in the clinic she worked in, whereas the costs to them, the actual costs, were $5 to $10. So it was very clear they were selling them for money. The estimate was that they were making upwards of $100,000 a month at just one clinic with these sales. So that's clearly illegal. It is also illegal under another provision of that same law to in any way change the way you are doing an abortion in order specifically to obtain particular organs. Now, I hate to talk about what's in those videos, but one of the most graphic descriptions in there is by one of the medical directors of Planned Parenthood talking about how they would crunch certain parts of a baby and specifically not crunch other parts of a baby in order to be able to get out the organs that they want. I don't know what could be a more clear indication that they violated that federal statute.
It's pretty hard to talk about this subject, but
it is.
And as you said, it's pretty graphic in the cruelty that's going on here, not only to the baby, but also to the woman who's having the abortion. Aren't they supposed to give a consent of some kind for the use of the baby?
Yes, Sharon, that's exactly right. The statute also requires fully informed consent, not just by the woman who's undergoing the abortion, but also by any of the researchers who read the baby's organs or fetal tissue. And it seems to me, again, watching the many hours of undercover videos, that it's a real question as to whether the women undergoing these abortions at these Planned Parenthood clinics were fully informed of exactly what Planned Parenthood was doing, and most specifically, how they were doing it and how they were doing the abortions in order to get these organs.
I doubt that they were. This is a traumatic time for a woman to even have to make this decision, let alone to discuss the gory details, if you will, of what goes into that decision. And so when we hear it, it's just something that we're naturally revolted by. And I can imagine the emotional cruelty that a woman would have to go through in order to give this kind of consent. So you're probably right. They're not getting all that they need to under this law. And it seems that their greed now has far outpaced their good judgment, and perhaps we have them in all rights to being the criminals that they truly are. What do you think the possibilities are about this? We mentioned before the break Loretta Lynch probably should recuse herself, but what are the probabilities of that happening and of this actually going into a situation where we will have an investigation and perhaps a conviction?
Well, I will tell you, as you know, John Fund and I wrote a book about Eric Holder and how he ran the Justice Department for 6 years, and he politicized the department to an extent never seen. Politics and ideology really drove all the decision-making on prosecutions there. Loretta Lynch has continued those policies without change. And a great example of this can be seen in the fact that it's now been 6 months since we knew that Hillary Clinton was running State Department communications through her own server, including highly sensitive and classified information. I can guarantee you that if any lower employee in any federal agency, if they had discovered that, the FBI and the Justice Department would have immediately opened up an investigation over to the handling of those government communications, and they would have gone to a court, gotten a warrant, and seized that server. None of that has happened with this Justice Department. That tells you what's going to happen with this case, which is they're probably going to delay opening up investigation. Even if they do, it won't be a serious investigation.
Well, and your book with John Fund, Who's Counting How Fraudsters and Bureaucrats Put Your Vote at Risk, what's ever come of that? They're still denying that there is any election corruption going on in this country. Is that not correct?
It is, and they're trying to make it worse. In fact, I have an article in today's National Review about how the Democratic governor of Virginia, Terry McAuliffe, a former Clinton confidant, is trying to make it easier for people who are not citizens and felons to register and vote in the state of Virginia without getting caught.
Well, it doesn't even seem to matter whether we get caught or not. It's the idea, again, back with your Planned Parenthood situation. In 2010, we had a clear case which we took to the Department of Justice and also to the Secretary of State in Nevada, a clear case that was documented in the papers of a Harry Reid connection to the casinos, coercion of their workers, some citizens, some non-citizens being bused to the polls to vote and told if they didn't that their jobs would be in jeopardy and possibly more. And that nothing was done with that at either the Department of Justice nor at the Nevada Secretary of State's office. And so when we got a new regime in with the 2014 red wave, I took that case again to the Republican Secretary of State this time and the Attorney General, and still no answer. It seems that the old adage, justice delayed is justice denied, will happen in this case because of statute of limitation. Is that just going to be how we'll see all of these run, that they'll just let them run past the statute of limitation? Here we have Planned Parenthood committing crimes, but if we don't immediately get them investigated and prosecuted, will justice be delayed and therefore justice denied?
Unfortunately, that very well may happen. The only answer to that is in 2016, electing a new president who puts new leadership in the Justice Department who will actually do something about all these types of cases.
Well, Hans, we're going to have to leave it there on that sad note that we may never see a conclusion to all of this, or at least a just conclusion. But I want you to tell our listeners how they can get your books and also how they can follow your articles.
Sure. Well, there's only one Von Spakovsky listed on Amazon and Barnes & Noble. They can pull up the books there, or easier to find under John Fund, a little easier to spell. And otherwise, they can go to heritage.org, and they can see all the things that I write there at the Heritage website.
Thank you so much, Han von Spakovsky. I'm sorry, your name is such a tongue twister for me, and I'm not sure why. But say it one more time so our listeners get it right.
Sure, it's Hans von Spakovsky, typical name for somebody from Alabama like me.
Thank you so much, Hans, for being our guest here on Conservative Commando's radio show.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
And we are the Conservative Commandos radio show. We're coming to you live from WNJC 1360, our flagship station in Philadelphia, and around the world on the internet with CPRWorldwideMedia.com, LeadingEdgeRadioNetwork.com, TalkStreamLive.com, ThePunditPress.com, ShrewMedia.com, K98Talk.com, and AMFM27.com. And now you can listen to our show at any time on our website, ccrsnetwork.com and ccrshow.com. We'll be right back after these messages with Sharon Angle, Kevin Wade, and our next guest, Ray Moore.
I really don't care. That's my prerogative. They say I'm nasty, but
You've heard Paul Delks playing the music on the Your Music Matters morning show. He is also an experienced mortgage loan officer working for U.S. Mortgage Corporation and assists homeowners navigate the reverse mortgage process. If you are finding yourself asking questions whether or not you set aside enough for retirement, down with you, your family, and your financial advisor and discuss how a reverse mortgage may be a valuable resource for your retirement plan. You will be responsible for paying your taxes and insurance, and the reverse mortgage can help with this and other expenses, such as home health care or other untimely bills. Put Paul's 20-plus years of experience to work for you, as choosing the right option for your situation can be critical. Call Paul at U.S. Mortgage Corporation at 877-213-9977. That's 877-213-9977. Or go to seniormatters.info for more information. U.S. Mortgage Corporation is a licensed mortgage banker in New Jersey, Pennsylvania, and Delaware, and an equal housing lender. NMLS number 3901. U.S. Mortgage Corporation is located at 201 Old Country Road, Suite 140, Melville, New York, 11747. This advertisement applies to first lien mortgages. Paul E. Dilks, NMLS is 485904.
Hi, this is Bob Vide, owner of Bob's Little Sports Shop in Glasper, New Jersey. I've had the opportunity to travel in many foreign countries, and I've seen what happens to people when they lose their freedom. I wrote this poem. Give us freedom was the cry as they marched throughout the night. At Concord Bridge in Trenton, for freedom they would fight. To build a nation that would last with peace and liberty, it is a job that's never done if we are to be free. They wrote a declaration to announce that we are free, then a constitution for all the world to see. But this is ink on paper. We must make it last. It must always be defended, and that is quite a task. Today the battle rages for freedom in our land. To save our Constitution, we all must take a stand. We must stand up for freedom in our actions every day, and you can stand up with us. Join the NRA. This is Bob Biden of Bob's Little Sports Shop in Glasper, New Jersey. You may call us at area code 856-881-7575 or visit us online at bobslittle.sportshop.com.
What does it take to be the leader in production systems technology? To be the one company that solves production problems at any plant, for any product, and with any technology? It takes a 30-year record of success. It takes total mastery of complex technologies with a history of delivering success every time, without fail. Only one company can claim that high ground in manufacturing line optimization, data automation, and systems integration, and that's Philadelphia Control Systems. In factories worldwide, Philadelphia Control Systems programs, software, and engineering solutions deliver optimal performance and output flow with a record that can't be matched. Any plant, any product, any technology. Philadelphia Control Systems, the leader in production automation since 1982. 335-9811, PCS4automation.com. That's PCS, the number 4, automation.com.
The Conservative Commandos radio show is expanding to become the Conservative Commandos Radio Network. We're establishing a front line of conservative radio broadcasters and ironclad patriots to declare war against the madness of liberalism and the Obama administration. Are you tired, as I am, about the disregard for our Constitution? Do you still have faith in the American dream? Are you looking for sensible, smart radio? If so, listen to the Conservative Commandos Radio Network every weekday from 11 a.m. to 5 p.m. on WNJC Radio 1360 a.m. or around the world on the internet at WNJCradio.com. Check out our websites, ConservativeCommandosRadioNetwork.com and CCRN.com for rebroadcasts and network updates. We are the Conservative Commandos Radio Network, where even more newsmakers go to be heard.
In these uncertain economic times, you've got to do whatever you can to save money. One of our biggest expenses can be our cars, especially when unexpected repair bills hit. Not anymore. If you own a vehicle with less than 130,000 miles, is less than 12 years old, has a warranty about to expire, or even no warranty at all, you could stop paying for car repairs. Roadside assistance, towing, and rental coverage are all included. Don't wait for the next repair. Make one free call right now to see if you qualify. If your vehicle is less than 12 years old, has less than 130,000 miles, even if it's out of warranty, paying for car repairs can become a thing of the past. Call us right now and get your car protected before your next repair bill hits. Get protection and no more repair bills. Call 800-696-1030. Again, 800-696-1030. That's 800-696-1030. 800-696-1030.
Joe had huge problems with the IRS.
I knew it was coming. I hadn't filed taxes since 1990.
All the IRS letters coming in added up to a nightmare.
To get up to like $68,000, my heart started beating fast. It's like, there's no way, man. I mean, I ain't going to be able to do this.
Then they stopped his paycheck.
So that's when I started making phone calls and found U.S. Tax Shield.
U.S. Tax Shield went to work immediately.
They just took the bull by the horns. What blew my mind is he called the IRS right then and there.
So why is U.S. Tax Shield A+ rated with the Better Business Bureau? Joe knows.
They saved me a ridiculous amount of money.
If you owe more than $10,000 to the IRS or state, choose the company Joe chose, U.S. Tax Shield.
It was the best decision I made. U.S. Tax Shield is the way to go. Life is good. Thank you, Lord.
Call 800-471-3287.
U.S. Tax Shield. Boo-rah. Yes.
800-471-3287. 800-471-3287.
The Internet will never be the same. You're listening to K98Talk.com.
Good God, y'all. What is it good for? Absolutely. Get
Tired of paying outrageous prices for Viagra? Well, we have great news for you. Now you can finally get Viagra at huge discounts. Healthy Man allows you to save up to $500 on Viagra. Why pay U.S. pharmacy prices of $15 per pill or more when you can get Viagra for less than $3 a pill? Call today and get 40 Viagra pills for only $99. This can cost as much as $600 at your local pharmacy. You can't afford not to call us. If you want Viagra at the lowest prices, never pay $15 a pill pharmacy prices again. Get Viagra for less than $3 a pill. Call 1-800-516-7602 today and save up to $500 and get 40 pills for just $99. Healthy Man is fast, easy, and affordable. Operators are waiting at 1-800-516-7602 to take your call right now. Call 1-800-516-7602. That's 1-800-516-7602. Again, 1-800-516-7602.
From the East Coast to the West Coast and around the world on the Internet, we're coming to you live from the CCRS studios, WNJC 1360. This is the Conservative Commandos radio show with your host, Rick Trader. The Conservative Commandos radio show, where the newsmakers go to be heard. You can call the Conservative Commandos radio show at 856-227-1360. Your opinion counts at 856-227-1360.
This is Congressman Alan West, and you're listening to the Conservative Commando Radio Show.
You are listening to the Conservative Commandos Radio Show. If you'd like to hear a rebroadcast of today's show, please check out our website, CCRS Network, CCR Show, and, of course, tomorrow morning at 9 a.m., log on to Leading Edge Radio Network. They all end with .com, and now you can listen. We've gotten a minor hiccup in our telecommunications capability, so you and I will just kind of stretch things until we get our next guest on the line and ready to go.
We seem to run into that group quite a lot on Mondays, don't we, Kevin? I guess it's the things that we have to say are just of interest to them. I wish they would be more interested in enforcing the law when it's truly broken. I don't know if you were as shocked as I was to find that how many laws have been broken in, and probably the most shocking part is that Loretta Lynch, the new Department of Justice director, is not going to recuse herself and probably not even going to prosecute any of these crimes that have been committed.
Recuse? We don't need no stinking recusal. I'm still waiting for two of our Supreme Court justices to say, oops, we should not have heard that case a month and a half ago because we already had participated in a ceremony that was the central topic of the case before them. So I don't think you're going to find liberals recusing themselves in order to maintain the dignity of the executive branch or the judiciary. So that's why we have elections. We will recuse them in November of 2016. And Mateo, the studio engineer who's so good he only needs one name, is giving me, is it a thumbs up, Mateo? Thank goodness. The Lord works in his mysterious ways, his wonders to perform. Sharon, we've pushed through the jamming coming out of Fort Meade, Columbia, Maryland, NSA. And I'm now very happy to say that we have our next guest lined up for us. And let me make his introduction. Pastor Moore is a graduate of the Citadel with a B.A. in political science and was graduated from Grace Theological Seminary, cum laude, which means a real smart guy, with a Master's of Divinity and a Master's of Theology later. He served 19 years as an Army Reserve chaplain, retiring as Lieutenant Colonel. Currently, Ray serves as president of Frontline Ministries, Inc., which focuses on prayer, revival, and Christian education. He is the director of the Exodus Mandate Project. He's the author of Let My Children Go. This week marks the release of his new movie, and I want to encourage everyone to take a look at this movie. It's at www.escapingcommoncore.com. That's www.escapingcommoncore.com. And as you might imagine, this is called Escaping Common Core, Setting Our Children Free, a movie trailer that I recommend everyone see. And let me repeat it a third time, www.escapingcommoncore.com. And with that, Pastor E. Ray Moore, welcome again to the Conservative Commandos Radio Network.
Yeah, thank you for having me on again, and I appreciate meeting both you, Sharon, at a previous conservative and Christian leaders meeting in Washington, D.C., so we're good to be on the show, too.
I've had the pleasure of visiting the website, escapingcommoncore.com, and seeing that movie trailer, and it's very, very impressive. What motivated you? What gave you the spirit to go to the effort of putting together this movie, Escaping Common Core, Setting Our Children Free? Walk us through your motivations.
Well, first of all, I was involved in a very outstanding movie that came out 4.5 years ago called Indoctrination. That's indoctrination.com if any of your listeners want to order that one. And it did extremely well. It laid out the eras of state education, of public education, how we got this model, and, urged people to consider alternatives such as homeschooling or Christian schooling. And we end up selling. I was the executive producer, so I had a secondary role to Colin Gunn and Joaquin Fernandez, who were the actual director producers. But we put up the funds for that, and it came out right before the Common Core agenda became so prominent in the news. And so it's a little bit dated on that issue, and yet in the movie still is very important and excellent. So I hope your people will continue to use that as we are. But we felt we needed something to follow up because Common Core had become such a hot political educational issue in the culture, and it is also a hot issue in the presidential campaign. And so we thought we could kind of catch the crest of the wave and come in with an alternative strategy or vision for Christians when it comes to educating their children, since we're getting all this free publicity in the presidential campaign. Normally, education, K-12 education, is not a topic in a presidential campaign. They talk about the economics, taxes, and jobs, but education is very, very seldom mentioned. But about 3 months ago, in 1 week, in the Wall Street Journal, New York Times, USA Today, and Washington Post, there were front-page articles about Common Core and the presidential campaign. So we saw an opportunity. So 6 months ago, we started working on this film, rushing through to try to get it out in time to, interface with the current national debate. So happy to report that we have the movie ready. The webpage that you just mentioned has only been up about 3 or 4 days. We haven't actually put a news release out on the movie. We'll do that tomorrow, right before the debate on the 6th. And this is the first radio interview I've given on the new movie, so I'm kind of excited, and I'm happy that you contacted me when you did. So that kind of gives the context for the movie, and we hope we can get tens of thousands of them circulating in the churches and among Christian people over the next year.
Tell our audience, what is the theme of the movie? We've had many experts on this show over the past year and a half talking about the flaws of Common Core from the standpoint of the teaching methods, from the standpoint of the content, from the standpoint of the data tracking. But tell us what is the central theme in your movie that we need to understand.
Our movie, the title, as you said, is EscapingCommonCore.com is the webpage, and the full title is Escaping Common Core / Setting Our Children Free. Many of the groups that talk about Common Core do look at the curriculum aspects, educational methodology, the kind of the practical things that are harmful about it, and those are all valid and important. But we believe it's more of an agenda by the left to lock people into this controlled, dumbed-down education system, which is going to become really pervasive over the next few years. So we are not urging reform of public schools. We're not, a lot of people are trying to repeal the Common Core. My state in South Carolina actually pulled it, but they really didn't. They just changed the name, and they've kept the same concepts, but they've actually, they call them state standards now rather than national standards. But the egregious, harmful aspect of it is still in play. So we're not trying to reform public education. We're trying to get Christians to pick up the God-ordained mandate of K-12 Christian schools and homeschooling and leave the government schools, or as I prefer to say, Pharaoh's school system, for the promised land of Christian schooling and homeschooling. And I think this Common Core agenda is sort of the last step, or one of the last steps of the left to take full, total control of our minds of our children. And it's so egregious and harmful and hateful and really demonic that a lot of people are waking up. I just came back from a large homeschool convention in Atlanta this past weekend, and we're just amazed at the number of new families who had just pulled their kids out. Some of them already have been in public school for a long time because of the Common Core. So this seems to be a catalyst, and so we're trying to take advantage of it and say, no, let's go ahead and leave the system entirely and set up our own Christian schools and our own home schools and get our children out of that system.
So the message is we can't fix Pharaoh.
Right.
We have to leave.
Yeah, it's not even broken. Actually, a lot of people think that public schools are broken, but they're not broken. They're really very successful. It's socialism's most successful experiment. And this has really been going on a long time. We track a lot of the harmful aspects of this back to Dewey, John Dewey, around the turn of the 20th century. So Common Core is not new as a concept or strategy by the left or by socialists. It really goes back to Dewey. It's just a new term. And we bring all that out in the movie. So a lot of people sort of wake up, at the end of the crisis, and the storm has been going a long time, and the debris and the garbage and the waste of 150 years plus of state-sponsored public education are now washing up on our shores, and people are sort of waking up late in the game. But this is not new. It's been going on really since the turn of the 20th century, and you could even trace it back to Horace Mann in the 1840s.
Pastor Moore, we're coming up on a hard break. Would you stay with us through the break so we can continue this conversation?
Sure.
I want to remind all of our listeners that, first of all, we're honored to have Pastor Moore with us. This movie is just being released this week. This is his first interview. Please go to www.escapingcommoncore.com because we won't have enough time to cover everything. He's agreed to stay for a few minutes. I'm going to ask you to stay with us, too. We're coming to you live from the Conservative Commandos Radio Network studios, WNJC 1360 AM, our flagship station in Philadelphia and around the world on the Internet at more places than I can name. And now on about 10 different TV stations out in Northern California, compliments of AUN TV. You stay with us. We will be right back. I'm Kevin. Sharon Angle is here as well, and Pastor Ray Moore is talking to us about his new movie, Escaping Common Core, Setting Our Children Free. We'll be right back.
The Conservative Commandos radio show is expanding to become the Conservative Commandos Radio Network. We are establishing a front line of conservative radio broadcasters and ironclad patriots to declare war against the madness of liberalism and the Obama administration. Are you tired of the disregard for our Constitution? Do you still have faith in the American dream? Are you looking for sensible, smart radio? If so, listen to the Conservative Commandos Radio Network every weekday from 11 a.m. to 7 p.m. and Saturdays from 2 to 6 p.m. on WNJC Radio, 1360 on your AM dial, or around the world on the internet at WNJCradio.com. Check out our website, ccrsnetwork.com, for rebroadcasts and network updates. We are the Conservative Commandos Radio Network, where now even more newsmakers go to be heard.
Hi, this is Bob Vide, owner of Bob's Little Sports Shop in Glasper, New Jersey. I've had the opportunity to travel in many foreign countries, and I've seen what happens to people when they lose their freedom. I wrote this poem. Give us freedom was the cry as they marched throughout the night. At Concord Bridge in Trenton, for freedom they would fight. To build a nation that would last with peace and liberty, it is a job that's never done if we are to be free. They wrote a declaration to announce that we are free, then a constitution for all the world to see. But this is ink on paper. We must make it last. It must always be defended, and that is quite a task. Today the battle rages for freedom in our land. To save our constitution, we all must take a stand. We must stand up for freedom in our actions every day, and you can stand up with us. Join the NRA. This is Bob Biden of Bob's Little Sports Shop in Glasper, New Jersey. You may call us at area code 856-881-7575 or visit us online at bobslittle.sportshop.com.
From the East Coast to the West Coast and around the world on the internet, we're coming to you live from the CCRS studios. WNJC 1360. This is the Conservative Commandos radio show with your host, Rick Trader. The Conservative Commandos radio show, where the newsmakers go to be heard. You can call the Conservative Commandos radio show at 856-227-1360. Your opinion counts at 856-227-1360.
This is Congressman Alan West, and you're listening to the Conservative Commando Radio Show.
Thank you for staying with us. If you'd like to hear a rebroadcast of today's show, please check out our websites, ccrnetwork.com and CCR, as in Conservative Commandos Radio, ccrshow.com, or mornings at 9 a.m. log on to leadingedgeradionetwork.com. And now you can listen to the Conservative Commandos Radio Network at any time, any day, from any telephone on the planet by simply dialing 832-999-1199. Caution, some toll charges may apply if you're on that satellite phone from Antarctica. But most of you are going to get to listen to it for free at 832-999-1199. We're on the phone with Pastor Ray Moore. He is, just this week releasing his new movie, Escaping Common Core, Setting Our Children Free. And it's a movie trailer that's shown at a website, escapingcommoncore.com, escapingcommoncore.com. Please take a look at the trailer. It's intriguing. And I'll tell you what, buy some copies of the movie and take them to your friends at church and begin to get the word out. There is so much more to be done. Pastor Moore, thank you for staying with us.
Sure, appreciate it.
So how long did it take for you to put together the script and get the scenes shot? I mean, I'm just trying to go behind the scenes a little bit.
Well, let's see. We started really working on it seriously in January and February, and because we had to travel around the country to film people. We have people from a number of states and even on the West Coast, so that took a lot of time. And of course, the editing, takes time as well. So the one that we have now posted and we're distributing is a fourth revision, and so we're happy with it. It's about an hour long, a little bit longer than an hour, and we worked hard to keep it at that length so churches could show it on a Wednesday night or a Sunday night in a 1 hour plus a few minutes meeting. But if that didn't work, we have 2 episodes on the same disc. The first episode is 38 minutes, and the second one's 30. And so they could actually show on 2 different Wednesday nights back to back. If that was, 68 minutes is too long. We tried to cut it a little bit, but it would have injured the message. So we just went ahead with what we had. We're going to come out with a volume 2. Will be more details on how to set up homeschool, how to set up Christian schools. We're talking about Christian school online. and that'll be in Volume 2. And we hope to have that ready in September. So we're working on that even now. So it'll be Volume 1 and 2, and each of them will be about 60 minutes long. And Volume 1 is available now at escapingcommoncore.com. We'd urge your audience to go ahead and order in bulk. If they get 5 copies, the price is dropped, and then there's another drop at 10. And then if they really like it, they can, give it to friends or even to get something back. I've found over the years, if you give things away to people, they don't respect it. But we certainly need lay people to get it and give it to their pastors. The pastors are slow to see this. So many of them are caught up in this salt and light idea, which is really harming our children, that our little children should be missionaries, and it's just it's causing a destruction of the next generation.
Could you expand on that a bit?
Pardon?
Could you expand on that salt and light idea?
Well, they base it on Matthew 5:13 and 14, which is a valid theology. It's how Christians should behave in all circumstances, but it's misapplied to little children, at pre-puberty or at the very young age, where they're thrusting them into pagan and godless and demonic-inspired education. So they're forcing them into harm's way. Frankly, I've been in pastor, off and on, for 40 years, and I think it's more of an excuse for sloth and laziness than a real theology. But it is the number one impediment we face when you try to talk about getting out of the public schools into a Christian or homeschooling. Oh, my children are missionaries. You want to just scream when you hear it. It's just so absurd. 80% of Christian children who are public school through their career are leaving the church and abandoning the Christian faith. They can contact me at my webpage at exodusmandate.org for more information. We provide information, but if they want the movie, we urge them to go to escapingcommoncore.com.
Pastor Moore, is it easier for a mom and a dad at home to kind of get that homeschool started if they can make contact with others in their communities that have taken the same steps and maybe learn? Oh yes, homeschool support groups are all over. Most communities now have several Christian schools that they could go to. The online Christian schools online is just going to revolutionize the movement, because people say, well, I can't put my kids in an expensive Christian school, and we're not qualified to homeschool, therefore I must put them in a public school. Well, that's not true anymore. That's just an excuse. Online education, Liberty University has online, Bob Jones, Pensacola Christian, Alpha Omega, there's wonderful online Christian school programs. Apologia has a great science curriculum. So there's no excuse for any family to public school their kids anymore. They really are just irresponsible parents for putting their kids in harm's way in these pagan, godless schools. And what happens in the government schools is your children are being raised to be strangers to you and your family and your family's values.
Yeah, they're turning them away from the Lord, and the ministers don't want to face up to the reality because they've got so many public school addicts in their churches. They don't want to address it. And there's a Holocaust going on right now in the evangelical church because of public schooling. And we think the Common Core agenda is going to help us. I kind of laughingly say Common Core is a good thing. Not that it really is, but it's causing people to leave the pagan schools, many for the first time, because they realize their children are not only being harmed spiritually and morally, but they're being harmed academically. They're going to grow up basically not educated and won't be able to function because of the Common Core agenda.
Well, I don't want to trivialize the life of the 16th president in any way, but it's my understanding of history that Abraham Lincoln learned to read at home, and the only book in that homestead was, as you know, the Holy Bible.
Yeah, he had a home education. I don't know so much of the details of his situation, but James Madison was the author of our Constitution, and he never went to a government school a day in his life. He was homeschooled through the age of 12 on his plantation by a Presbyterian minister, and then went to Princeton. It was called the College of New Jersey at the time, and studied under John Witherspoon, who was a Presbyterian minister, who come over from Scotland, and he's the father of our Constitution. So many of the early founders were home educated and then went to private Christian academies. So the idea, we think the state education model is a mistake, and we're against the model. And we think if we can get enough people to pull away, it may collapse or implode. And we may find a time, in the next 10 years where we could actually abolish the state education model and replace it with Christian schools, home schools, and private schools for those who don't want an explicit Christian education. But it's wrong to coerce us, force us to pay and subsidize a system now which is thoroughly pagan, atheistic, and godless. And now it's not even using sound educational pedagogy with this Common Core.
Pastor Moore, it's always a pleasure. Pastor Moore, it's always a pleasure. Give our audience one more time the website, how to see the trailer, how to learn more, how to get involved, and how to buy some copies.
The website for the new movie is escapingcommoncore.com, and we think if they'll go there and click on the different links, they'll get very interested and want to order the movie. And it also tells you how to order the movie on that site. And if you like it, send it around to your Facebook or your email loop. And particularly, we need help getting the pastors to look at this, because they are really holding up the show right now, because so many of even the evangelical pastors won't take a stand on saving their own children and their flocks. So we think this movie will be real helpful with the pastors.
Pastor Ray Moore, it is a pleasure to have you. Please come back and visit us again. And I want to remind our audience, that's www.escapingcommoncore.com. Go there and see the trailer, Escaping Common Core, Setting Our Children Free. Pastor Moore, thank you, and Godspeed.
Thanks a lot.
Bye-bye. You are listening to the Conservative Commandos radio show. If you'd like to hear a rebroadcast of today's show, please check our website, ccrnetwork.com, ccrshow.com, or mornings at 9 a.m. log on to leadingedgeradionetwork.com. And you can listen to the Conservative Commandos radio show at any time, any day, from any telephone by calling 832-999-1199. I'm Kevin Wade, joined by Sharon Angle. We've got another great guest coming up in just about 5 minutes and 43, 42, 41 seconds. You stay with us. We'll be right back.
They say I'm crazy. I really don't care. That's my prerogative. They say I'm messy, but
You've heard Paul Deltz playing the music on the Your Music Matters morning show. He is also an experienced mortgage loan officer working for U.S. Mortgage Corporation and assists homeowners navigate the reverse mortgage process. If you are finding yourself asking questions whether or not you set aside enough for retirement, Paul can sit down with you, your family, and your financial advisor and discuss how a reverse mortgage may be a valuable resource for your retirement plan. You will be responsible for paying your taxes and insurance, and the reverse mortgage and other expenses, such as home health care or other untimely bills. Put Paul's 20-plus years of experience to work for you, as choosing the right option for your situation can be critical. Call Paul at U.S. Mortgage Corporation at 877-213-9977. That's 877-213-9977. Or go to seniormatters.info for more information. U.S. Mortgage Corporation is a licensed mortgage banker in New Jersey, Pennsylvania, and Delaware, and an equal housing lender. NMLS number 3901. U.S. Mortgage Corporation is located at 201 Old Country Road, Suite 140, Melville, New York, 11747. This advertisement applies to first lien mortgages. Paul E. Dilks, NMLS is 485904.
Hi, this is Bob Vide, owner of Bob's Little Sport Shop in Glasper, New Jersey. I've had the opportunity to travel in many foreign countries, and I've seen what happens to people when they lose their freedom. I wrote this poem. Give us freedom was the cry as they marched throughout the night. At Concord Bridge in Trenton, for freedom they would fight. To build a nation that would last with peace and liberty, it is a job that's never done if we are to be free. They wrote a declaration to announce that we are free, then a constitution for all the world to see. But this is ink on paper. We must make it last. It must always be defended, and that is quite a task. Today the battle rages for freedom in our land. To save our Constitution, we all must take a stand. We must stand up for freedom in our actions every day, and you can stand up with us. Join the NRA. This is Bob Biden of Bob's Little Sports Shop in Glasper, New Jersey. You may call us at area code 856-881-7575 or visit us online at bobslittle.sportshop.com.
What does it take to be the leader in production systems technology? To be the one company that solves production problems at any plant, for any product, and with any technology? It takes a 30-year record of success. It takes total mastery of complex technologies with a history of delivering success every time, without fail. Only one company can claim that high ground in manufacturing line optimization, data automation, and systems integration, and that's Philadelphia Control Systems. In factories worldwide, Philadelphia Control Systems programs, software, and engineering solutions deliver optimal performance and output flow with a record that can't be matched. Any plant, any product, any technology. Philadelphia Control Systems, the leader in production automation since 1982. 800-335-9811. PCS4automation.com. That's PCS, the number 4, automation.com.
The Conservative Commandos radio show is expanding. Conservative Commandos Radio Network. We're establishing a front line of conservative radio broadcasters and ironclad patriots to declare war against the madness of liberalism and the Obama administration. Are you tired, as I am, about the disregard for our Constitution? Do you still have faith in the American dream? Are you looking for sensible, smart radio? If so, listen to the Conservative Commandos Radio Network every weekday from 11 a.m. to 5 p.m. on WNJC Radio 1360 a.m. or around the world on the internet at WNJCradio.com. Check out our websites, ConservativeCommandosRadioNetwork.com and CCRN.com for rebroadcasts and network updates. We are the Conservative Commandos Radio Network, where even more newsmakers go to be heard. From the East Coast to the West Coast and around the world on the internet, we're coming to you live from the CCRS studios, WNJC 1360. This is the Conservative Commandos radio show with your host, Rick Trader. The Conservative Commandos radio show, where the newsmakers go to be heard. Drink my wine. You can call the Conservative Commandos radio show at 856-227-1360. Your opinion counts at 856-227-1360.
This is Congressman Alan West, and you're listening to the Conservative Commando radio show.
Hey, thanks for staying with us. We just had Pastor Ray Moore on, and one more time, it's I'm going to get the website up here for you. That's escapingcommoncore.com. Seeing the movie Escaping Common Core, Setting Our Children Free. Go out there and take a look at that trailer. Buy a couple copies and share them with friends. Sharon, a great interview.
Yes, it was, Kevin. You know, 30 years, actually, maybe more than 30 years now ago, I did the Christian school first and then homeschooled my own children, and we had those same arguments that Pastor Moore was talking about in the interview. It hasn't changed much, and still the crisis seems to be the same as it was 30 years, perhaps more so now with the advent of Common Core. It's just even more pressure for people of character and wanting to keep their children out of the mainstream of this political agenda to consider the alternatives and the choices. We have a new law here in Nevada, the Education Savings Account, which, although it's not perfect by any means, it is paving the way for parents to make that choice. It's actually giving them a way to get into a savings account between $5,100 and $5,700 a year to put forward on any educational structure of their choice, which means private school, homeschool, Christian school, whatever they feel is the best for their child, putting that child back under the control of the parent once more rather than the state. So this couldn't be a more timely topic and a more timely film to be watched by parents who are concerned, because the slow wheels of government are not going to fix this system in the interim while your child is in school. Your child will not get to reap the benefits of any changes that we see, because it's going to be so slow moving even if we turn the ship around now.
Yeah, it's a matter of sending your kids off to the government school system and they come back strangers to you and your values. And that's not the way it was supposed to be in the beginning. The original public school in my town, 1803, they taught arithmetic, algebra, history, the Constitution, and 3 languages: English, Classical Latin, and Classical Greek. And they taught, these were the kids of fishermen and farmers and herders and folks that worked in the woods. So I think we've slipped a bit. And they didn't have computers or the internet. But the first graduating class sent 2 kids off to Princeton. Sharon, our next guest is on the line. He's a audience favorite here at NJC. And would you please have the honor of making his introduction and leading the interview?
It is always an honor and a pleasure for me to introduce J.D. Gordon, who's a former Defense Department spokesman for the Western Hemisphere in the Office of the Secretary of Defense, serving under both Secretary Donald Rumsfeld and Secretary Robert Gates. Gordon, a retired naval officer, also served as the Vice President of Communications as well as Foreign Policy and National Security Advisor to former presidential candidate Herman Cain. J.D. Gordon is a contributing columnist and commentator on Fox News, The Washington Times, Human Events, Capital Insider, and other media outlets, and is a Fox News contributor. J.D., welcome back to the Conservative Commandos radio show.
Thank you so much, Sharon. Always great to be with you all.
Well, it's always great to have you. Thank you for being on our show. And we want to talk to you about really a national security question. I don't know that anybody is considering it that way, but certainly you have put the focus right there when you talk about the closing of Guantanamo Bay, Gitmo, and where the prisoners could be set free. Talk to us a little bit about why we should be so concerned as Americans about the closure of Gitmo.
Thanks, Sharon, for the opportunity to discuss it. It's so important because President Obama has a secret about Guantanamo's closure, and that is judges could release him across the country. We're talking about on Main Street, USA. I've got a column in The Hill. It's called Obama's Secret on Guantanamo, and it was covered in the Washington Free Beacon and Daily Caller last week, because it's true. What's going to happen is if President Obama moves those detainees to the United States, there's not the evidence to hold them in jail. So judges are going to decide. It's not going to be up to President Obama. He couldn't hold them even if he wanted to. And so that's why I think it's important people know that those Guantanamo detainees, there's about 116 right now, and about half of those are kept in indefinite detention status, which means that they're too dangerous to release, but we can't try them because we didn't have battlefield detectives running after these guys, right? And so judges would release them, and so that's why it's very important that people understand detainees don't have to escape from Supermax if judges let them walk out the door, and that's exactly what's going to happen if President Obama gets his way and they're moved here.
Now, talk to us a little bit about why these guys are there. You know, if they're bad actors, what is their bad action, and why should we be so concerned about them? You know, maybe they're just political prisoners. Are they really dangerous?
They're very dangerous, Sharon. Guantanamo has held a grand total of 780 detainees. It was opened 4 months after 9/11, so in January of 2002, the first shipment came from Afghanistan. So what these guys were, the 780 total, these guys were al-Qaeda fighters, Taliban fighters, they were explosive trainers, people who had been trained in suicide operations, or what they like to call martyrdom operations. Right now at Guantanamo, we also have the plotters for the 9/11 attacks on America. We have the lead plotters for the USS Cole attack, the Bali nightclub bombings. They're all down at Guantanamo. Those 50 or so in indefinite detention were people who were like bin Laden bodyguards. They're mostly Yemeni, but they're also Saudis, and they're from Libya, places like that. They're explosive trainers, weapons trainers, would-be suicide bombers, but the evidence wouldn't hold up in court. One of the key points I wrote about in my column, Sharon, was the case of Al-Mari v. Bush. And the reason I know this so well is because I was a Pentagon spokesman. I was the Pentagon spokesman from 2005 to 2009, and one of the cases that was the toughest for us was Al-Mari v. Bush. Al-Mari was a Qatari national. He was thought to be an al-Qaeda sleeper cell agent who was going to poison reservoirs with advanced poisons. That's what he was trained in. And so he was a green card holder. He was arrested in Illinois, and he got put in Charleston Brig, in the Naval Brig, as a foreign enemy combatant. However, President Bush said we can keep him. But President Bush ended up being wrong. And the reason is because Al-Mari won in court. He won in court, and the federal court system says, no, you got to try him or release him. So he got tried, but the terrorism charges wouldn't stick. So you know what they got him on, Sharon?
IRS evasion. What did they get him on?
Pretty close, Sharon. They got him on credit card fraud. So they were able to put him in a civilian jail for a little while, but guess where he is now? He's back in Qatar. He's a free man. So my whole point is, if you look at case law, that is what judges have done in similar circumstances, the test case for Guantanamo is Al-Mari v. Bush. We're going to have over 50 detainees out of that 116 group who we don't have the evidence to try, and Barack Obama won't even have the authority to keep them. The judges will. And you'll have left-wing activist judges lining up for jurisdiction to free these guys.
So he's going to let go guys that could put more bombs on more planes to fly into more buildings, is what you're telling us, J.D.
Well, that's just half of it. The other half is he wants to give that base back to Cuba. The whole base of Guantanamo, not just the detention facility, the whole thing, 45 square miles. We have a deep water port. We've got an airfield. It's been a strategic U.S. base since 1960 from the Cubans. The Cubans have only cashed one check since the Castro regime took power. So I believe Barack Obama wants to close the detention facility so he can give that base back. And the reason he wants to give it back is because if you look at what the international left says, he's a member of the international left, they call Guantanamo a sign of Yankee imperialism. That's what all the leftists say in Latin America. I believe he has sympathy for those people. I believe he wants to close his detention facility. He doesn't care if these guys get out or not, because he wants to give that whole base back to the Cubans. That's why I don't trust the White House, but people shouldn't trust the White House, because Ben Rhodes of the National Security Council, one of the president's top aides, he negotiated this deal with Cuba, the normalization of relations, in Canada last year, in secret, behind our backs, behind the backs of the Congress, just so we could have these normalization of relations with Cuba. And Cuba, as a part of that, says we demand Gitmo back. It's occupied territory. And I'm afraid, Sharon, Obama's going to just give it to him.
JD, we've got to talk about this more after the break. We've got about a 2-minute break coming up. Can you stay with us through the break?
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you so much. We're coming to you live from the Conservative Commandos Radio Network studios, WNJC 1360, our flagship station in Philadelphia, and around the world on the Internet with CPRWorldwideMedia.com, Leading Edge Radio Network.com, TalkStreamLive.com, ThePunditPress.com, ShreemMedia.com, K98Talk.com, and AMFM247.com. And now you can listen to our show at any time on our websites, www.ccrsnetwork.com and ccrshow.com. We'll be right back after these messages in about 2 minutes with Sharon Angle, Kevin Wade, and our guest J.D. Gordon, talking about releasing 9/11 terrorists onto the streets of America.
The Conservative Commandos radio show is expanding to become the Conservative Commandos Radio Network. We are establishing a front line of conservative radio broadcasters and ironclad patriots to declare war against the madness of liberalism and the Obama administration. Are you tired of the disregard for our Constitution? Do you still have faith in the American dream? Are you looking for sensible, smart radio? If so, listen to the Conservative Commandos Radio Network from 11 a.m. to 7 p.m. and Saturdays from 2 to 6 p.m. on WNJC Radio, 1360 on your AM dial, or around the world on the internet at WNJCradio.com. Check out our website, ccrsnetwork.com, for rebroadcasts and network updates. We are the Conservative Commandos Radio Network, where now even more newsmakers go to be heard.
Hi, this is Bob Vide, owner of Bob's Little Sports Shop in Glasper, New Jersey. I've had the opportunity to travel in many foreign countries, and I've seen what happens to people when they lose their freedom. I wrote this poem. Give us freedom was the cry as they marched throughout the night. At Concord Bridge in Trenton, for freedom they would fight. To build a nation that would last with peace and liberty, it is a job that's never done if we are to be free. They wrote a declaration to announce that we are free, then a constitution for all the world to see. But this is ink on paper. We must make it last. It must always be defended, and that is quite a task. Today the battle rages for freedom in our land. To save our constitution, we all must take a stand. We must stand up for freedom in our actions every day, and you can stand up with us. Join the NRA. This is Bob Viden of Bob's Little Sports Shop in Glasper, New Jersey. You may call us at area code 856-881-7575 or visit us online at bobslittle.sportshop.com.
From the East Coast to the West Coast and around the world on the internet, we're coming to you live from the CCRS studios. WNJC 1360. This is the Conservative Commandos radio show with your host, Rick Trader. The Conservative Commandos radio show, where the newsmakers go to be heard. You can call the Conservative Commandos radio show at 856-227-1360. Your opinion counts at 856-227-1360.
This is Congressman Alan West, and you're listening to the Conservative Commando Radio Show.
And this is Kevin Wade, and my co-host Sharon Angle both agree you are, in fact, listening to the Conservative Commandos Radio Network, WNJ 60 AM. If you'd like to hear a rebroadcast today's show, please check our websites, CCRS Network, CCR Show, or mornings at 9 a.m., not 8:58, not 8:59, 9 a.m. Log on to leadingedgeradionetwork.com. And you can listen to the Conservative Commandos Radio Network at any time from any telephone on the planet by calling 832-999-1199. JD, this is Kevin Wade. I might have missed this from earlier in the interview. First of all, thank you for staying with us. What is it in the law that allows a federal judge to release these cretins into American society?
Kevin, thanks for having me on the show. Well, the judges can rule however they want, because basically what the judge could interpret is that we don't have indefinite detention in this country. We have indefinite detention that applies to Guantanamo detainees only in Guantanamo. That doesn't apply here. So once they get to the United States, any judge could basically say, well, that even if Congress has to pass a new law, first of all, to have them stay and even have a shot at not keeping them. But under the existing U.S. law, the judges would just say you can't have indefinite detention because it's not even in the law to have them here. So the judges would probably just cite case law. They would go by what happened with Al-Mari v. Bush and say, look, Al-Mari was kept by Bush. Bush said he could keep him indefinitely, and the court said no. So that's how the laws work here, usually by case law.
Okay. Well, case law and whatever they happen to decide.
And whatever they decide, but the issue is activist judges can try to take jurisdiction from around the country. In other words, even if a detainee is a supermax in Colorado, it doesn't mean that a judge in San Francisco can't wind up with the case, for instance, or a judge in D.C., for instance, a leftist judge. It's whoever the lawyers are able to convince a judge to take a case. It doesn't have to physically be in that jurisdiction. It could be a whole variety of federal judges.
No, JD,
jurisdiction over these guys.
JD, the point is well understood, and whatever lingering esteem our audience may have held for the federal judiciary some time ago, I don't think it exists any longer, and we have no idea how these people may choose on the bench to make what they consider to be their mark in American history?
They'll make a mark, all right. I mean, they're already doing so in a number of other cases throughout the United States, whether it's Obamacare or whether it's a whole variety of other issues, like gay marriage, you name it, just have really gone into activist territory in recent years. But getting back to case law, when I was the Pentagon spokesman, our general counsel's office was in charge of making sure we could keep the detainees locked up. And they were working in lockstep with the Justice Department. Well, guess what? Those guys were like a piñata. These guys were like Eeyore, the donkey in Winnie the Pooh, really downtrodden and beaten down because they were getting beaten down in court all the time. These guys were losing hand over fist. So if those detainees actually make it into the U.S. soil, I guarantee you judges are going to let them out.
And because no other country is likely to take the worst of the worst, they'll be walking around some zip code near us. Yeah, that's right. The worst of the worst, I believe those guys would still be held. The guys that get tried for the 9/11 case, for instance, Khalid Sheikh Mohammed, the chance of a judge releasing him would be, I would say, nil. But that's not counting about half the detainees. About half the detainees were guys who weren't the level of Khalid Sheikh Mohammed, but they were still explosive trainers, bomb makers, IED makers, terrorist recruiters, Bin Laden bodyguards who fought at Tora Bora, would-be suicide bombers, guys who were training in suicide operations, not the guys you want walking the streets, for sure. No, and a very simple question that I think our audience should not forget. Question is, are we still in a war on terror?
Yeah, we're still in a war.
And if we're still in a war...
In the 1970s, I believe, that radical Islam has been attacking the United States since the 1970s. We're still technically in a war because of congressional legislation after 9/11 to protect ourselves from future attacks. That's how we had the legal justification to go to war in the authorization of military force. That was the authorization to go to war in Afghanistan and Iraq. That is still active for Afghanistan. So we are still technically in a war. Even if people don't think we are still in a war. And even after that ends, I think we're in a war because Al-Qaeda says we're in a war, and they get a vote. Al-Qaeda and the Islamic State, they're attacking us. We're only attacking them to defend ourselves. If they stopped attacking us, we wouldn't attack them.
Well, I think, thank goodness, the vast majority of the American public understands that we are still at war, even if a small number in Washington and some deluded federal judges around the country may not understand that. I think the common sense of the American people tells us that as long as they're still beheading and burning and crucifying war, because we represent the epitome of Western civilization. J.D., we're coming up on the end of our segment. Can you tell our listeners how to keep up with your writings and your efforts and your travels?
Thanks so much, Kevin. Sure, they could check out my website. It's Protect America Today, and that is www.protectamericatoday.com. And also, I'll be on Newsmax TV at 8 p.m. tonight with J.D. Hayworth, and that's on Newsmax Prime, 8 p.m. tonight on Newsmax TV.
We look forward to it. J.D., thank you so much for being with us. That's J.D. Gordon, a recurring visitor and a great friend of the show. Sharon, we have about 30 seconds. You want to make your goodbyes to the audience, and I'll close us out?
Certainly. I just want to remind everyone to get to Nashville, Tennessee, August 28th, 29th, and 30th for the Presidential Preference Convention so that they can have their voice heard on who they believe should be the candidate who comes through this primary mix of 17 candidates. And I just want to say that in light of all of our guests today, we certainly do need to call upon the grace of God for this country. Have mercy on us.
Sharon, amen to that. God bless and Godspeed. And as I always end on Mondays, may God save the United States of America.
Once again, liberal bigotry rears its ugly head. Hello, I'm Ron Edwards. On today's page from the Edwards Notebook, as of now, if you are a Christian high school graduate and are considering a higher education, just beware that the Community College of Baltimore has joined the growing list of American colleges and universities that openly discriminate against Christians. No more is it just the dirty look or a snide remark, but as Mather Clark of the American Center for Law and Justice put it, Public colleges and universities are taking the gloves off when it comes to Christian students on their college campi. Christian students can now expect applications to be rejected if they let it be known that they are a person of faith. Now, if you are a unnatural sexual practitioner or a mangy Muslim at war with America and all non-Muslims, hey, no problem. You get to the head of the class. One Christian student, Brandon Jenkins, was flat out rejected at the Community College of Baltimore after honestly answering an admission interview question, what was the most important thing in his life? To which young Brandon answered, my God. Thus, he was quickly told, this is no place for religion. Funny thing, though, bigoted campus liberals didn't refuse any Muslim students. Gee, I wonder why. I'm Ron Edwards.
The leader in talk radio on the internet, right here on K98Talk.com.
When our water heater broke down last month, it was a nightmare. It took 5 hours for the plumber to show up, and he charged us a couple of $100 just to come out. And then it cost another $1,800 to put in the new water heater. By the time it was all said and done, I felt like I'd been taken. But what else could I do?
The smartest thing you can do is get a home warranty from American Residential Warranty. Their home warranties pay to repair or replace all your major appliances when they break, and they will break, and at the worst possible time. Call American Residential Warranty right now for free information on home warranties starting at just pennies a day. Don't wait for your refrigerator to stop running or your ceiling fans to stop turning. Call American Residential Warranty right now. Ask how you can save up to 50% on washer and dryer coverage. Just call 1-800-513-6154. That's 1-800-513-6154. Again, 1-800-513-6154. Call now.
Tired of paying outrageous prices for Viagra? Well, we have great news for you. Now you can finally get Viagra at huge discounts. Healthy Man allows you to save up to $500 on Viagra. Why pay U.S. pharmacy prices of $15 per pill or more when you can get Viagra for less than $3 a pill? Call today and get 40 Viagra pills for only $99. This can cost as much as $600 at your local pharmacy. You can't afford not to call us. If you want Viagra at the lowest prices, never pay $15 a pill pharmacy prices again. Get Viagra for less than $3 a pill. Call 1-800-516-7602 today and save up to $500 and get 40 pills for just $99. Healthy Man is fast, easy, and affordable. Operators are waiting at 1-800-516-7602 to take your call right now. Call 1-800-516-7602. That's 1-800-516-7602. Again, 1-800-516-7602.